Hello and welcome. We are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and so on. And we're here to introduce you to the Data Cloud Academy for Data Scientists. That's something we launched just yesterday. Very excited about it. And we have the goal to help people figure out how they can use Snowflake for their data science work. It's a developer-built 3-week program, completely free, and we have the content as a mix of video, hands-on labs, and written content as well, quick start guides that help you get going with Snowflake. And with me here today are Julian Forero, our Senior Product Marketing Manager for Data Science, and Felipe Hoffa, our Data Cloud Advocate here at Snowflake. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you,
Hello,
Eva.
everyone. Oh, I see a lot of people connected watching us right now. That's super exciting.
Yes, yeah, very excited. And before we launch into our conversation, can you both briefly introduce yourself? Tell us what your role has to do with data science, but also one thing you're excited about when it comes to data science and Snowflake.
I can start.
Yes.
Hey everyone, my name's Julian, and I'm a product marketing manager for data science here at Snowflake. My history with data science started right out of school. I was helping organizations figure out their data strategy for machine learning like 8 to 10 years ago. So you can imagine how different that world was back then, where everything was on-prem, and we would have to take servers into customers' on-prem environments to get started because there was no easy way to get our own special compute to run POCs. So I was doing this at IBM, and it's sort of a whole different world now that we're in the cloud. And I think what's exciting about everything that's happened since then is all the open source innovation that's happened. It's sort of democratized data science, and all the commercial tools that are available have democratized it. But what's consistently important is the data. And so I think having a data-centric strategy to machine learning and having that sort of as a foundation at Snowflake is what really excites me about being here.
Yes.
Very cool.
I love that answer,
Okay.
Julian, or Julian, as we could say. So for me, data science, at the bottom of data science, we have the basic word is data. I love data. I love analyzing data, sharing results. And that's the core of what a data scientist does, is how do we bring meaning to data? How do we make it into stories? How do we operationalize it so we can improve our processes, our recommendations? And having Snowflake in the middle of that is just a beautiful thing, like how easy it is to not only analyze the data, but also to get data from partners, share data with others, uh, move it around our enterprise between our teams. So yes, let's take data, let's add science to it, and you got magic.
Excellent. And we have people dialing in from all over the world, really. We've got Atlanta, Georgia, we've got Montreal, Philadelphia, we've got California, Saudi Arabia, we've got Cork Island.
So Munich, Germany. How would you say hi to Munich, Germany, Eva?
To Munich, Germany, I would say Guten Abend, München. And
Yeah.
I'd love to let people know, where do you guys sit? Where are you, Felipe?
Well, I'm from Chile, but right now I'm in San Francisco in the same apartment where I've been for the last almost 2 years.
And what about you,
And
Julian?
so I usually am in California near the Snowflake office, but I'm actually from Colombia. So I'm in Bogota right now, enjoying a little bit of the summer here.
Oh, very nice. Well, and I'm German, based in London. It is dark outside. We've got the lights on, and it's great to see more and more people dropping in. So, how about we talk about the data scientist school that we launched this week? There will be a link shared to the chat for everyone to see who hasn't signed up. And Julian, we worked on this program together. Do you have a few thoughts on, what we did there?
Yeah, so I think what was really cool about this project was that when I joined Snowflake about 9 months ago, there wasn't many hands-on content and demos of how data scientists could interact with Snowflake. And so throughout that time, what I discovered is that it's not just data scientists working on data science, right? There's also data engineers that are helping prepare the data, building feature stores. There's ML engineers deploying models and taking things into production. And sometimes all of those three are collaborating. And so what we ended up working with, sort of the way I wanted to put this out into the world was how could we help all of those teams involved in the data science And so we put this in a way that it sort of focuses on new content, focus on the main steps of, call it data science or machine learning, where it starts with like data preparation. How can you use Snowflake and the Snowflake processing engine for that? And then if you want to train your models, what if you want to use your own Jupyter notebook and do that locally? Then how can you use the Python connector to do that? Or if you want to use one of our partners, what would be the process to do that? And so that would be sort of the focus of the second week. And that's been sort of the magic of what I wanted to see. And so for the last 9 months, there's been a lot of content that's been created. And so we've just taken that and put it all in one place so that everyone can go and learn with a lot of hands-on content as to what are going to be the best practices and things that as a data scientist, I could go and do and play and maybe optimize my workflow if I'm already using Snowflake for data science.
Yeah, excellent, very cool. And it's been, working with you has been helpful for me to learn more about that process as well, and really immerse myself into all the good things we have out there and that we can use. Now, another audience question is, what tools do you use for data science, and what's your data science background? Maybe you can share a little bit with us as we start talking about what should people know before they start this course. So we're making the assumption that most people starting this course have some basics in data science. What would you both say is helpful for them to know before they get started on this content?
Yeah, I think if I had to give some thoughts, be familiar with data science, because the goal of this course is not to teach about statistical methods, is not to teach about algorithms. It's really, the problem, you're ready to tackle that problem. Now you have your data in Snowflake, then what do you do from there? And so sort of that's the point and start where we want to think about that, which also means some knowledge of SQL and some knowledge of Snowflake would also be super useful. And so I know we have tons of great content as part of Snowflake University that sort of helps people get started. And so I extremely recommend to sort of use some of our other on-demand content for that. What do you think, Felipe?
Yeah, for me, one of the basic things that have enabled me to do that analysis is knowing SQL. At the same time, when I learned SQL in college many years ago, I failed it. I failed that midterm, and SQL didn't start making sense to me until I had real questions with real data to answer. And that's part of why I love Snowflake. With the marketplace, you can find so many data sources of real data. So you're not doing like these synthetic examples anymore, but you are working with real data, and you can answer real questions. What you find will be interesting, and you can discuss with others what they think. So the first thing is having a tool to work with data. It might be SQL, that's the classic one. It might be data frames with Python or with Scala. And then having data that makes you excited about learning, playing with it, and sharing the results. And people might get the wrong results. That's okay. It's cool to discuss them with others and to see where we got things wrong.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
some really good suggestions. And I think if there are people who are like, oh, maybe I'm not quite ready, do it anyway, because you will see that some content will be easier to consume than maybe other topics, but that will teach you or show you where the gaps are, where maybe you need to develop certain skills if you want to really immerse yourself in data science. So I think this is not a if you don't have these skills, don't do it. It's more of a just
Mhm.
be aware that some topics will probably be a bit more difficult for those who are just new to data science. So Julian, you were going to add something as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, no, I was going to add that there's sort of like we all have different skill levels, whether it's with coding, working with data. And I think what's great about this course is that we actually have some content that's going to be great for those expert coders. So if you're super into Python or maybe even know some Java, there's some great content for that. But maybe you're more of a strong analyst who has a lot of data science, some basic data science experience, and you want to use tools like Data Robot, then you can totally do that too. And so we have content for both types of data scientists, those that may be more like the hardcore coders, more that those are degree driven. I personally always end up using both type of tools because the long story short is that I went to engineering school, but I only took MATLAB because I didn't want to code. Turned out to be the worst mistake ever, so I had to teach myself Python and SQL later. But then when I was working with a lot of enterprise customers, and they were adopting these click and drag tools, I was like, oh, this makes some of this stuff so easy that sometimes you have to code. So it's a mix. I don't think there's a perfect tool for everything, and then we all end up finding like what works best for us. And I think as you think of like, hey, I'm part of an organization, what do my peers want to use? And so there's a bit of both in this content, and so I think that's what's great about the Data Cloud Academy here.
Cool. And so we heard from Julian earlier that we've got this course divided into 3 distinct weeks. The first one is about data preparation. Second one is about building your model and then deploying the model. Let's have a quick look into each of these weeks. So the first week, preparing your data. Felipe, you work with a
Yes.
lot of data in Snowflake, and you do a lot of work with data in Snowflake.
Mhm.
Can you explain briefly? Let me start that again. Can you explain briefly what people can expect when it comes to data preparation with Snowflake?
For sure. Oh, by the way, I want to say hi to Lauren from the Dara Robot team that is watching us now too, and a lot of friends from around the world. Um, so when I prepare data with Snowflake, the first thing I go is my first question is where am I getting data from? Some data needs a lot of preparation, some data does need less, but it's really good to start once you get your data is start looking at it. Use SQL, use your favorite visualization tool. I'm sure Eva would choose Tableau to explore it, but you need to understand the basic shape of your data. How does it look? Does it look clean? Does it look like we have to do a lot of cleanup? Does it look like a complete sample, or have they sampled only half of it? Yep, we have many tools, and as I see our week number 1, we have the perfect materials for that. Like we're telling people to, we're giving them the data science overview. Ah, look at who's there, a little Eva. So Snowpark Snowpark for feature engineering. Feature engineering is really important. Now, that particular blog post uses Snowpark and Scala. I never learned Scala, but it's a great blog post for anyone that knows Scala and wants to analyze data with Snowflake. Probably you need to know Scala before going here. Python I love, so showing us how to use Python data frames and Snowflake is an awesome toolbox for me. I'm more of a Python programmer than a Scala one. And of course, the lab to just go step by step working with the data frames APIs.
Excellent. And so we're now just seeing a little bit, and maybe you can make it a bit bigger so we see more of the screen. We have that Snowpark for Python demo. Julian, can you elaborate a little bit more on that topic?
Yeah, so I think one of the reasons I decided to join Snowflake is because I learned that they were going to be adding Python support on top of Snowflake. If I had to take a guess, like I probably was more of a 80% Python, 20% SQL user, and so that was something that was super exciting to me. And so I was super happy to be part of the launch of that. So we announced the private preview in November, which is now going to mean that hey, we're working on adding this support, and so we're working. The PM and the engineering team are working hard to make sure that you guys can get your hands on this as soon as possible. But what this does is that it enables you to use a data frame construct that maybe many of you are familiar either through Pandas or PySpark to run Python queries in Snowflake. And then you could also send Python bytecode to run functions inside Snowflake. So it's both a client side and a server side Python. And the cool thing about the server side is that we've partnered with Anaconda, which many of you data scientists are familiar with, to make open source libraries and packages available inside Snowflake so that you can do GeoPandas calculations or run scikit-learn models and do inference on those inside Snowflake. So super excited about what all this Snowpark for Python announcement means and all those capabilities that are going to be available to data scientists. So I think the caveat is it is in private preview. If you are interested, check out the video. Give you a great idea of all the things you'll be able to do. And we do have in that YouTube. If you go in there is some link where you can sign up to stay up to date if you want to know when the public preview is going to be available, so that you can get your hands on as soon as possible.
Yep. I
Excellent.
would like to add, if possible, that we have a new teammate that you will soon see in our live conversation like this one. Dash Desai, he's on the live chat right now, and we are playing with Python because yes, it's in private preview, but now we have our hands on it, and we're going to have fun examples. So stay tuned. A lot is happening with Python, and it's super exciting.
Absolutely. And we actually had a number of people mentioning that Python is their, language tool of choice. And let's use that as a little bit of a transition to week 2 when it comes to building your model. So we do have a number of connectors, Julian, that allow people to build models using their preferred tool. And that's kind of why we got them thinking about what do they actually like to use all the time. Can you talk a little bit about the partners that we're working with and how we support users during the model building phase?
Yeah, totally. So I think one thing that I like about Snowflake is that it's always making itself extendable to the ecosystem. The ML ecosystem is constantly changing. There's a lot of tools, both commercial and open source, that are coming up all the time. And so if you want to play with the latest tools, we make it easy for you to integrate. So typically there's two ways to work with your ML training tool of choice. So you could use things like the Python connector. So typically if you're working from a notebook environment that supports Python, you can use this to pull the subset of data. So you can write SQL queries inside, so you can do some processing in Snowflake and then pull out the data set that's most relevant for training. The other way is that for partners with whom we have strong integrations, then there's sort of pre-built connections. You don't have to worry about any of that. You can just say data robot, data IQ, HTO. You can just put in your Snowflake credentials, and within the tool, you're going to have access to the same tables and databases that you already have access through the Snowflake UI. But now you can use all that data for data science and machine learning. And I think sort of what's exciting is that as part of the November announcement, we also announced that we've started to have some native support for ML training inside Snowflake. And so we're looking for customers that are going to help us build a journey of what doing training in Snowflake also means. So stay tuned for more details on that.
Very nice. And Felipe, so once people have, watched these videos and looked through those guides, if they want to get hands-on, do you have some tips for how people can get the most out of this week 2 of, building the model and really actually doing that during the week? So using their preferred platform, connecting that to Snowflake and, experiencing it.
Yeah. I would say, especially in machine learning, we have awesome partners, and you see that we have a lot of materials with H2O, Data Robot, Data IQ. These are partners ready to take data that you may have in Snowflake and build machine learning models that you can then deploy them back into Snowflake for serving, thanks to our Java UDFs. But what's really cool also in Snowflake is that we have the Partner Connect system, as Julian was mentioning. You go within the Snowflake web UI, you can choose any partner you want to connect to, and the free trials and connections are already set up for you if you just go through the motions. So get a Snowflake free trial account, get fun data there from the marketplace, and connect it to any of these partners and play with their toolbox. Shout out to our fantastic partners, says our Snowflake in chat.
Absolutely. Yes. And, they are great to work with. So do give that a go while you're doing this course. The free trial is for 30 days. So, it lines up nicely and you'll have a bit of extra time to do some more tinkering. Now, when we get to week 3, we talk about deploying the model. Julian, what's the key takeaway for week 3 when it comes to deploying the machine learning model? What do you think people will get out of that week particularly?
Yeah, so I think what's happening in the world of taking models into production is that models end up usually being in 2 type scenarios. There's either batch inference, right? So you sort of run a schedule, hourly, daily, whatever that is, to score new data. And so for that type of inference, the new functionality, which is Java UDFs and then Python UDFs, which will be coming into public preview as well, then that means that you can package a trained model, bring it to Snowflake, and then easily bring the data in the model so that you can get new predictions. So there's going to be a lot of great content. Felipe is an expert on Java UDFs. So he's been great at sort of showcasing all the things that you can do with Java UDFs. And so you'll get a little bit of him talking about that. But then, of course, we also show some details. If you do need some real-time inference, right, Think of it like recommendation systems where users interacting directly with an application. The best way that we support that today is by using external functions to connect to a externally hosted model through an API endpoint. And so Snowflake supports both, and we'll show you how that exactly works in there. And of course, most important one of these is going to be Felipe talking about Java UDFs and all the use cases for that.
Yeah,
Yes.
Felipe, you're itching to tell us about Java UDF. Go ahead.
Oh, Java UDFs are so cool. I can write Java inside a SQL function, so I can create function and do in between my SQL notebook worksheet. I can write Java code and Snowflake compiles it. That's pretty cool. But even cooler is to bring jar files from outside. So any library you want to import, try not to import log4j. That's a joke. Everything is secure inside Snowflake. How we are running this VM, it's pretty well secured. But yes, you can bring libraries from outside. You can bring jars files. It can be my favorite example is bringing a language detection framework to detect any language where a comment has been written in. You can see that in the video where I'm showing off those tools. But then also, when we have partners that send jar files, give you jar files that you can deploy in Snowflake to serve these machine learning models to put them in at work, that's just awesome. And yes, you can find more about that in the video we have prepared for week 3.
Excellent. Now, before we wrap up, I do want a little bit more audience interaction again, bit of participation. So we would love to hear from you. Leave us a comment. What else do you want to learn how to do with Snowflake? And while you hit the keyboard and type that in, we're going to talk a little bit about. Okay, so we've got this 3-week course. It started yesterday. A couple of logistical points. This is recorded. This live show here on LinkedIn and YouTube, but also the content will be available. So once you register, even if you can't do it this week, next week, and the week after, if you want to do it in the new year, you will still have access to this content just by logging in with the credentials that you have, and then you can just access that whenever you like. And like I said, it's a mix of written content, video content, hands-on labs, so you get a bunch of variety, but also, I guess, just different ways of learning, which speak to different types of learners. And okay, we have a few comments coming in while they're hitting the chat. Felipe, Julian, how can people connect with you if they want to connect with you and follow what you're doing?
Aha.
Yeah.
Well, I always. Would you like to start, Julian, or should I start?
Yeah, I think mine's gonna be shorter. So mostly on LinkedIn. You can't find me on Twitter. It's my name with the O as a 0 because somebody had already taken the Julian Forero on Twitter. So there I usually focus. I think I have like a crypto personality on Twitter, so it might look different than LinkedIn, but both are good ways to reach out.
Mm-hmm. Which
And
O
Felipe,
is a 0?
The last one.
The last one. Let me
good
find
to
your
know.
Twitter account.
And
But
Felipe, where can people find you?
of course, I'm on Twitter. Another place that I love showing off is the subreddit r snowflake, reddit.com/r/snowflake, where I share all the news that I learn about Snowflake. And of course, the data scientist school is here. And I love Twitter. Here I'm looking at Eva's Twitter account. Try my data.
Yes,
Where of course we're super excited about the data science school. And if they want to find me, I'm the Felipe Hoffa, my name with an
excellent.
at first.
Yes, and as you saw, I'm on Twitter as well and on LinkedIn. And please do follow us. We all try to publish content that's relevant, that comes out fresh off the press here at Snowflake. And we did get a few, I guess, things on the wish list for Santa and beyond. So there's PySpark. I'm just trying to read through.
Oh, Deepak is asking if Python UDFs will be supported. Yes, Python UDFs are in private preview right now. Uh, every Very soon, everyone will have access to write their own Python UDFs, and I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I definitely recommend go to YouTube, search Snowflake Python. There's going to be a demo that came about 3 weeks ago. In 9 minutes, it will totally make sense what we're building and the cool experience that all data scientists and Python developers are going to get with both the client side for querying data and then the server side for running Python UDFs.
Yeah, and we'll take your suggestions on board and see what we can do. So always stay tuned to see what else comes out from this team, and of course our great bunch of colleagues that are working with us.
And I have a question from Ron that has a perfect answer. Anything on unstructured data tools such as PDFs? And my quick answer is yes. We already did our LinkedIn Live about that, and we are going to say a lot more about that. And if you want to add something.
Yeah, no, so I think the one important thing for us is the world of data science is moving towards unstructured data. And so there's a lot of cool stuff that will be coming in the next year in terms of data science content related to that. So make sure you follow Felipe and Eva to get the latest when those things come out.
Yes, but we are going to do a lot more with that. Eva.
Yes, I was going to say, so before we close out, I am going to say this is the perfect time also for those considering a move to a new exciting job. We are hiring in roles all over the place. And I think, we have a great audience listening right now, excited about Snowflake. If you are thinking about the holidays, well, maybe that's a time for you to consider. Have a look at our careers page because we're always looking for great people.
I want new teammates. So if anyone has
I
questions.
think the role I'm most excited about, and hopefully someone in the audience will reach out to me about this, is we're actually looking for a machine learning advocate at Snowflake. So if you're out there watching right now, reach out. We're looking for you.
Yeah. Oh, I think that was a great way to end this. So, any last words from both of you?
I think it's awesome. Thanks, Eva, for collaborating with me on this. It was great to be on LinkedIn Live for the first time. Hopefully you guys invite me back.
Smash that subscribe button. That's what the cool kids say.
Yes, absolutely. And make sure you get your job applications in if you're interested in becoming part of Snowflake. And with that, thanks everyone for tuning in. Have a great festive season if you're celebrating. Otherwise, just enjoy the rest of December. Take care and have a good start into the new year.
Time for the dancing bear.